To the people of Texas and all Americans in the world, for you unfortunate non-Texans, that's the opening words from Colonel William Barrett Travis's letter from the Alamo 176 years ago this month. Those are great words, but powerful words because they were not just words. They were words born of deeds, mighty deeds that changed the course of history. Because what would America have been without Texas? I know some of you say I'd like to find out, but too late for that. No, these men and their words and their deeds reflected a philosophy of freedom. But they weren't just words. They acted on them. As Mike Church said, they found their line in the sand. Now, we've got to ask ourselves, where do we draw that line? Well, it's great to be back in Odessa. During my campaign, the best part of it was putting 30,000 miles on our car and traveling to the real Texas, the small towns, the rural Texas, outside the big cities. And we met a lot of liberty-loving freedom all across Texas, and especially in West Texas. My husband, Tom Glass, was born in Odessa. Yes, well, actually, he was born in Midland. But he's a native of Odessa. And even at that early age, he didn't know the difference between Odessa and Midland. But it's great to be back here because hospitality just can't be beat. Well, I'm a trial lawyer and I'm about to attempt to persuade you about something. We'll see how good I do about this. Because I believe that all of us, all of the liberty activists, we share a common why. I think we all know that our country and our liberties are under assault like never before. And that we're going to lose both if we don't act. And that the time for words, just words, is over. It's long over. And we've got to do something. But the what and the how we go about doing this, we may differ on. I want to try to persuade you that the best defense, the best way to meet this modern day Alamo is to work within the Libertarian Party of Texas. Yes, that's what I'm going to try to do. Persuade you to join me in that. You may ask yourself, why political? Why Texas? And why libertarian? Well, we'll get to all those questions, but first I want to tell you my personal why. Well, I guess like most of you, I love to read history and study economics. It's been a passion of mine for decades. And I knew Adam Smith said there's a lot of ruin in a nation. To me, that meant that human beings, especially Americans, are so resilient that we can take a lot of guff off of government. And we'll adapt, improvise, overcome, and we'll still live a free life and prosperous life. Yeah, I knew that there would be a day of reckoning because you just can't do this stuff indefinitely. But I thought that'd be after I'm dead and gone. Well, in 2008, I come to see things differently. I mean, I saw the Fed-induced Wall Street meltdown, the 2008 election, the bailouts, Obamacare, just one hit after another, and finally it just hit me. The way we're going, I'm likely to outlive my country. And I never thought that would happen. I thought, no, this cannot be. This cannot be. If they want my liberty and they want my country, I'm just not going to give it up. No, they're going to have to come and take it. So that's what I decided to do. I decided to run for governor. Now, you got that transition, didn't you? It's a logical step. Well, I thought it was logical, and I'll explain why later. Well, why go political? I know some people here say they're post-political, and they're working for liberty in other ways, and that's fine, that's good. But I just got this to say to them. You may not care about politics, but politicians sure care about you. We've lost our liberty through the political process, and we can't abandon it. That's where the fight is, and that's where we've got to work to recover it. I think the challenge we have is for all the different aspects of the liberty movement to work together, to cooperate, and not work in competition. Ayn Rand, for whom our daughter is named, gave a talk entitled Philosophy, Who Needs It? The Answer is You. Well, I agree with that. Philosophy is, you have to know your philosophy, you have to understand it, be able to articulate it, and then to try to persuade others of it. But the best ideas in the world have to be acted upon or they die. Our Constitution is not self-realizing. People have to work to put it into place. I don't mean to demean anybody, but I think another great quote from the founders is not going to be what saves us. History's fine, philosophy's fine, but at times, and now's the time, we have to take act. I don't think I need to tell you how bad things are. I don't think I need to give you a history lesson or explain a philosophy treatise. I think you know how bad things are. You could tell some of us up here on the stage a thing or two about how bad things are. But the question is, what are we going to do about it? Okay. Well, I say that we need more Patrick Henrys and less Thomas Jeffersons, even though I love Thomas Jefferson, because you never would have heard his words. You never would have known his thoughts, his ideas, if he hadn't had a Patrick Henry or a George Washington to put them into place. And we need a Thomas Paine. In fact, I think we may have one. I never noticed the resemblance before, but, well, it's almost enough to make you believe in reincarnation. But this is what I say to people that, well, I'm not getting that. Sorry. Okay, so why Texas? Well, for one thing, well, let me just tell you this. During my campaign, sometimes people would ask me, and still ask, I don't know why, are you going to run for president? And I say, I'm running for governor. I want to be governor of Texas. Why would I accept a demotion? I mean, who in his right mind, if he could be governor of Texas, would leave that and want to go try to be president of the... Never mind. Okay. Well, I tell that little joke to make a point. And that is that the fact that Governor Perry would want to cease being the governor of Texas and be president of the United States tells me he doesn't get it. He does not understand the fight we are in and the pivotal role that Texas plays and the critical role that the governor of Texas plays in that fight. For this is what Governor Perry does not understand or reject. That we are in a battle for America and that Texas is the battleground, but we are not battle ready because we have no leaders. We need leaders in and out of public office. We need a governor who understands the role, the power of that office and intends to use it. We need county sheriffs who understand their constitutional authority and power and intend to use it. We need people outside government too. We need people in our state guard, our militia, who understand their constitutional role and responsibilities and intend to use it. And we need firefighters and everybody else. I mean, we need all the people. We need them to get off the couch, get back away from the computer, put down the books and the treatises, and join. We have the power and we have the responsibility to take our country back by taking Texas back. Now, I heard the lady about secession, and I told all my secessionist friends, and I guess there's some of you out there, I'm not talking about secession. I'm talking about restoring our constitutional sovereignty, our 9th and 10th Amendment sovereignty under the United States Constitution. That constitutional framework of federalism that has served us well, or if we would just use it. Now, somebody once said, the Constitution is not perfect, but we just ought to give it a try. I agree that we haven't really tried it yet. You can't say it's failed. It hasn't been tried. And let me tell you this. If you think that we can more easily secede than we can return to constitutional government, you're dangerously wrong. What we need to do is to exercise the doctrine of nullification that Sheriff Richard Mack spoke about. That's a powerful tool. It's fallen into misuse or disuse. It's never been misused. It's not been used at all. But it is a powerful tool, as he showed. And it's the way back to our lost sovereignty. But you have to have a leader to do that. Because nullification, Richard Mack style, is very muscular. It's not a lofty theoretical construct on a piece of paper. No, it's making a declaration, drawing your line in the sand if you want, and being ready to back it up. Now, we lost some opportunities in last summer to do this because, well, we had the TSA pat-down bill in special session that went nowhere, and of course, we know that was just a rigged game. It was never intended to go anywhere. And the Bastrop fires, that's where the federal government came in and told our Texas firefighters to back off. They were in charge now, and they did. Now, if our governor had been on the job, he would have been there. He would have made that TSA bill go through. If he had to call another special session, he would have got it through, and it should have passed. And he would have been down there in Bastrop working with that county sheriff there, and together they would have said, no, feds, you're not taking over here. We appreciate your offer, and if we want to help, we'll call on you. But we're in control. Now, I submit that Washington is broken, irretrievably broken for the near term. And it's nothing we can do to affect it. That's why I focus on Texas state officers, which includes county sheriffs, and Texas issues. Texas issues include things like how to protect ourselves from the federal government, things like nullification. And another one is to have a Texas banking system so that we can restore sound money and protect ourselves from what the Fed is doing to destroy our wealth and our currency. Those are just some things that we can do under our Constitution, and we should be doing, and we could do if we had the right leadership, the right people in government. Ronald Reagan gave a speech in 1964, and it was called A Time for Choosing. It was a very good speech with lots of libertarian sentiments. It's just unfortunate they weren't acted on very much. But he said, if we lose freedom here, there is no place to escape. This is the last stand on earth. And this idea that government is beholden to the people, that it has no other source except sovereign people, is still the newest and most unique idea in all the long history of man's relationship to man. I agree with that. There is no escape. This is where we have to take our stand. People who say they're going to go to another country, I don't know where they think they're going to go, that they would be safer here. Because if America collapses, the order around the world will collapse. No, this is where I've decided to take my stand. Because if, as Ronald Reagan said, America is freedom's last stand, well, Texas is America's last stand. This sentiment that we just read is the essence of American exceptionalism. That's a misunderstood doctrine that we need to talk about. America is exceptional. I would say more than exceptional, maybe unique, because we believe in freedom. Our country was founded on it. Our Constitution guarantees it. People who misconstrue it to mean that, well, America gets to be a bully and can throw its weight around and boss other people. No, that's not what it means. But of course, as we become less free, we become less exceptional. But if we lose this, then we've lost the only place on earth that we have ever achieved this degree of freedom, and we won't be replacing it anytime soon. Ronald Reagan, in that same speech, said, there is a price we will not pay. There's a point beyond which they must not advance. And the they he was talking about were the enemies of our freedom and our Constitution. So what price is it that we will not pay? Where is our place? That we will take a stand and say, this is the point beyond which you will not advance, the point from which we will not retreat. There is something going on in space and in time and beyond space and time which, whether we like it or not, spells duty. I had to think about this a minute, but now I think I get its meaning. That just, there's a time there is a place when you know it, and you may not like it, but you don't have to like it, you just know it, that you have to act and take some steps. It's your duty, and it's something you can't shirk away from. And then his famous, "You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We will preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we will sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness." Well, that's right. We do this as much for our children as we do for ourselves. And I'd like to say to all the young people here, I understand your impulse to want to go and do something non-political and everything. I've heard that. But we think we need to do this, and we do it for you. We are working very hard to try to turn this thing around. And you may not work with us, or you may work differently, but this is what we think needs to be done. And I don't see any way around it. Because we can't, if it all collapsed and we lost everything, well, those my age and older, we did at least have our day. We didn't at least know what it meant to live in a free country at one point. But my children and those in that age bracket, they'll never really know it. They'll never live it the way we did. And that's something we've got to make sure does not happen. And I would also say to the younger generation that we may not do things the way you do. We may protest differently, but that's just us. This is a picture of Seward Avery in 1944, I think. He was the head of Montgomery Ward during the war. And the War Department came into his company and said, because they just dictated to him, "You will do this and you will do that." And he said, "No, I won't." He was very constitutional. He was a libertarian ahead of his time. And they came into his business and they ordered his employees around because he wouldn't give the orders. The War Department came in and ordered his employees around. He said, "No, you don't follow the orders," and they didn't. So they said, "You will have to leave." And he said, "I'm not leaving." They said, "No, you have to leave." "I'm not leaving." So they had to get him up out of his chair and carry him out. They did a Gallup poll on who was right and who was wrong, and 65% of America said Seward Avery was right. We used to talk about 30-year plans. When I got involved in the Libertarian Party first, we talked about 30-year plans, and you start with the youth and do these things and work up, and the next generation will do this. Well, we weren't successful in that. But I've got to tell you now, we don't have another 30 years to have another 30-year plan. I don't have 30 years, and I'm pretty sure my country doesn't either. So that maybe sometimes that makes me very insistent, impatient, because I want to get on with things now. Well, I forget who said it, but if there is to be trouble, let it be in my time so that my children can live in peace. One time, well, let me say this. Winston Churchill once said it better. He said there are 4 stages in a fight for the right. The first is when you can easily win and it won't cost you anything. And then he goes on progressively, things get worse. The 4th is when you're going to lose everything and it'll cost you everything you have, but you'd rather go down fighting than live as a slave. Well, I don't know if we're at halftime, as Clint Eastwood said. Maybe we're in sudden death overtime, down 17 trillion when the Chinese have the ball, as I think Jay Leno said. I don't want to find out. That's what this thing while we can, because it's not going to get easier. Now, the reason I'm wanting to be governor is because I think, unlike what other people say that governor in Texas is a weak position, I think now, today, it is the strongest, most important job in the world. Because whether that governor is commander-in-chief of the Texas military, our militia, or being aggressive and nullifying things, calling special sessions, backing up other officers when they nullify and refuse to follow unconstitutional federal acts, it's an important, it's a pivotal, it's a critical position. But our nullification, I look at that as just a powerful weapon. It's like a muscle. It's very, very strong, but it has fallen into disuse. It's atrophied. And we passed opportunities, but more will come, I'm sure, that we can start to exercise that muscle, make it very strong and vigorous so that it's up to the task. Okay, so that leaves us with why the Libertarian Party of Texas. Well, I'll tell you, why not? Washington is broken. It's corrupt. The two-party system is broken. It's part of the problem. It will never be part of the solution. It's mired in the ways of Washington. And we need a party that is not beholden to anyone, no special interest group. I've said that. I've said that politics has become the means by which the rich and powerful get more rich and powerful. And that's true for both parties. In Texas, we are a one-party state, and it's the Republican Party. There's not been a single elected statewide official in Texas, a Democrat, in 20 years, and that's not going to change. But did that get anywhere? Got a supermajorities in the legislature. Did you get anything out of it? No, not really. I mean, I think you've seen that there's corruption that runs deep in both parties. And I know people say the Libertarian Party has not been as effective as it should have been, and I'll have to admit that there's some truth in that. But we can be, and we are not corrupt. We have the right ideas, and we just need people to work with us and work for us. During my race, some people said they were going to vote for somebody they didn't want, and they were going to hold his feet to the fire. Well, I don't know if there's anybody out here like that, but how's that been working for you? Did it work for you this last session? No. Did they do anything different? No. They did the very same thing they were going to. And it wasn't that you fell down on your job, you feet fire holders. It's just that there's no way you can do it. They don't care about you. Now, if any party thinks that they've got you in their hip pocket, you're going to be set upon. What you need is walk-away power. You need walk-away power to give you leverage, to give you bargaining position. And sometimes you need walk-away power just to walk away. And that's what I think you should do from the other parties. Two things happened in Washington that demonstrate this point I'm trying to make, and that is the Keystone Pipeline and the debt ceiling. Now, the Democrats don't want the Keystone Pipeline that rose from Canada down to Texas because they say it's environmentally unsafe. The Republicans say they want it because it's jobs. The Libertarians say giving eminent domain powers to a private company, a foreign company at that will steal your property, steal your freedom. We don't want it. Because jobs are not worth it if they take away your land. And that's exactly what they propose to do. Just like they did with the Trans-Texas Corridor, or tried to. No, that's not dead, it's coming back. Or the water rights. A few people in rural Texas are aware of what's happening with the water boards they're setting up. They want to take your water like they tried to take our land in the Trans-Texas Corridor. And that's because these rich, powerful interests have just bought the other parties, bought and paid for them. And I don't think any election is ever going to change that. H.L. Mencken said that an election is an advance auction of stolen goods. Well, there you go. That's why the Libertarian Party hasn't fared so well. Because we refuse to steal anybody's goods. We refuse to steal anybody's land. So we can sell it off to somebody else. Some people may say, well, that makes you irrelevant. I think it makes us uncorruptible. Or at least not corrupt today. Okay, and what will happen if they get in there and then they corrupt the Libertarian Party? Well, I'm going to be there to see that doesn't happen. But if it does, we'll set up another party. Because we're going to fight this. They're not going to beat us at this. So we come back to the question that my church raised and that we've alluded to here about where is our line in the sand. Where is the point from which we will not retreat? Where is the point that they must not advance? What is the price that we will not pay? Well, I'll tell you. It's Texas. This is my line in the sand. Do it in my little ranch in Texas, and it's in the shape of Texas. Our line in the sand is in the shape of Texas. Texas is the price we will not pay. Texas is the place we will not retreat from. Texas is the place they may not advance upon. Because what Colonel Travis told us in his letter, what he would not do and what we should not do, and that is never retreat, never surrender. And that's what I think we've got to do. All these other things, going post-political or escaping to some other country, that's a retreat or a surrender the way I see it. And we've got to stand and fight. So if any of you flew in from outside Texas for this event, why don't you just call up the travel agency and ask if you can get a return ticket, a refund on that return ticket, and just tell them that you've gone to Texas. Thank you.
No matter where we go, we like Texas women best, 'cause they're from Texas. They do things their way.